Hey everyone, welcome back to Snack Time. My name is Ben, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at Kaneo. Now, I'm sure I probably screwed that name up. I don't know if it's Kaneo or something or another. But anyway, it is basically an open source project management software that uses kind of a Kanban board. So I guess that's where the can came from. All right, let's take a look, and I want to show you around the platform, and then I'm going to show you how to set it up using Docker, portainer, and our Nginx proxy manager so you can expose the traffic to the internet. And there's a couple of things that we'll go over on this file in just a second. But for now, let's jump into the software. So when you first arrive here, we're going to be needing to create an account or sign in. Let's go ahead and sign up. I'm going to create a new account. I'm just going to do Ben, and then I'm just going to do ben@synhow.com. And I'm just going to give myself a password. And so when I sign up, very easy peasy, nothing to it. When we first get here, we are going to be needing to create a workspace. So let's do that. Let's say we're doing like house repair or something, and we want to track our progress. We're going to drop this down and we're going to create a workspace. We're just going to call this workspace, we're going to just call it house. And once we have created that workspace, we now need to create a project, but we can also invite people to this workspace and they can work on different projects. So let's pretend we're going to work on the kitchen. So I'm going to hit the projects up here. I'm going to create a new project underneath my workspace. I'm going to call it kitchen. And we can select an icon. Let's see if there's one that resembles the kitchen. How about a random paint thing, sure, whatever. Palette. All right, once we create that, we are given 4 different columns for our projects and things we're going to be working on. So let's do this. Let's create a to-do list. And we're going to click on this little plus symbol at the very top of the page. And once we do, we're going to be given our new task. So let's create a new task. Let's say that we are going to replace cabinets. And we can give it a little bit of description, replace them. Placement cabinets will be brown. And if we did have multiple people working on this project, we could assign it to different people. But right now it's just me. I will show you how to add additional people to the platform and assign different tasks to them, which is going to be really cool. All right, after we do that, we're going to hit create task. And now we have the very first task in our project, just called replace cabinets. From there, we can, update sync, all the other stuff that you'd want to be able to do with your kitchen. I'm going to leave that unassigned. I'm going to give that a medium priority. And once you have created your task, you can go in and add a little bit more detail too. If we click on the task itself, then we can give it, a little bit more descriptive with our description. We can add some bullet points and be like, don't mess this up or do mess this up. All right. We can also add some comments. So, say, hey, talk to vendor. And then we'll just hit that comment. So if you have multiple people working on it, we can kind of update the task and kind of give some status updates. So we can also modify this information over here. Check this out. So if we go in and zoom over here, we can change and add ourselves a due date. So maybe we need to have this completed by a certain date. We can specify that. And once you've done all of that, we're just going to go ahead and X out the task. But you see we have our due date specified here, and we have all the information that has been recorded so far. So yeah, pretty cool. So as we progress with these tasks, we're going to be dragging and dropping them, and just so we can kind of keep track on how that's going with our project, with our kitchen remodeling. So if we've replaced our cabinets or we have them in progress, we can just simply drag them over. If you've ever used a Kanban board, this is pretty much the big thing about it is just being able to, at a quick glance, look at all the different things in your project. And, we can see that it is now it has the priority of low, but it has a status of now in progress. So you can also, I think you can also change it from here if you wanted to. And then when you exit out, it should be in this new column. And as you do complete tasks, you just drag them into the done. So you'll know what's been done, what's not been done. All right, so let me show you the settings, which there aren't a ton. Let's click on settings and we can choose between light mode and dark mode or system. We can do interface preferences, which is basically, do you want to show or hide the taskbar? And you can also do that with this little button up here too. So not a ton of options, but this is a very new project. And well, this is a new open source project, not a new sub project here, not to get those two confused. So there may be some stuff added in the future, but honestly, it has everything that you really need for project management. Let's do this. I'm going to show you how to add additional people to your work group. So maybe we wanted to add some more people to this team. If we just click on Manage Team on the left-hand side here, and then we're going to send a new invitation. I'm going to click New Invitation, and I'm just going to use a quick little trick. I'm going to say Ben plus Bob at synhow.com. You can pretty much name this whatever you want to. It's not going to send out an invitation like it thinks that you think it might. I'm not sure if that's just not been added yet, or because I didn't see any sort of configuration with email, but it may be on the list of things to do. But it doesn't really matter because when this account signs in, you will see the invitation, or basically the new workspace already on there. So I'm going to hit send invitation. And then I'm going to sign out. I'm going to create a new account. I'm just going to say Bob. I'm going to put that email address in, and I'm going to make myself a password. Since it doesn't send any sort of welcome email currently, you can pretty much just put any email address that you want to in there. All right, once you have signed in with your invited account, you'll see on the left-hand side that I have under my workspace, I have house. And I can go and I can see my project too. And you're going to go under Manage Team, and you'll see that their owner is right here, which is me. And then I have my fake little Bob account, which is a member of that. So let's do this. I want to see one more thing. If we sign in, let's see what we can do about this. I want to make sure. Yeah, they don't currently have, it looks like, a way for me to deactivate this. But again, very, very new open source project. There's even going to be, I don't know if you can see this, but there will be roles that will be created in the future, and I'm sure user management as well. But for now, if you do invite somebody to your project, you might want to get used to them being there, because doesn't appear that there's a way just to remove them. So something I'm sure is on its way. And let me do this. We're going to jump into the installation portion of this video, and I'm going to show you how to spin this up on your own Docker server and get it going so that you can evaluate it and see if it's something that maybe you want to start using in your personal life, or maybe in your business. You never know. All right, let's do this. I'm going to sign out, and I'm going to jump over to the installation. I'll see you there in just a second. All right, so we're at the GitHub page where the Kaneo app lives, and the URL is at the very top here. We can see it right there. I'm also going to post it down below, so you'll be able just to easily click on it and get to this page. So if we scroll down, we are immediately given the compose file, which is very convenient and just tells you how to set it up. This one is assuming that you're not going to be putting it out on the internet, but for us, we are. I'm going to also show you how to run it locally just in case you want to. It's just going to require you not to do the modifications really that I'm going to talk about. Let's do this. Let's copy this guy right here, and let's head over to our portainer and get that stack set up. So we're going to go to stack, and we're going to create a new one. And I'm going to call this Kaneo. and I'm going to paste. And so like what I do with every single one of my projects, I'm going to explain to you all the different portions and the things that we're going to change, why we're going to change them. And if you decide you don't want to, that's okay too. But first, let's get in there a little bit. So the first thing we need to do is our JWT access. We're going to need to change this to something that is a little bit more secure. I would typically encourage you to do like just a random password generator, but for me, I'm just going to type in random characters. There you go. I would encourage you to do a little bit more secure. Oh, hey, number 4. There we go. Even better. This is the database path. This is just defining the environment variable of where the database is going to live. There's really no need to change this, and I'll tell you why in a second. Next, we have our guest for our RabbitMQ server. We're also not going to really change that. You can change this password if you want, but this isn't going to be internet facing. So I don't know if there's really a super good reason that you need to change that. You can probably just leave it as it is. If we scroll down, this also has the ports. So what we are looking at is basically, this is the back end container, which is kind of, it operates on, I believe, kind of an API kind of system. And the ports that it is exposing is the one that we're going to comment out anyway. But if you are going to run this locally and not internet face it, not use Nginx Proxy Manager or a subdomain or any other stuff, just leave this as it is. The only reason that we are going to comment this out is because I'm going to forward this traffic through Nginx Proxy Manager, and I will show you why in just a little bit. All right, so I'm going to put a little hashtag in front of there. And next we have our restart policy, and this is unless stopped. This is a great way to do it. That means if the server reboots, this container will fire up automatically unless you stopped it before the server rebooted. Next up, we have our volumes. This guy does it exactly how I would do it. Has the volumes being set up in a mapped kind of situation. So we're going to have our volumes listed over here in a nice pretty form. We'll be able to see exactly where our data is. This maps it to the /apps API and data. And that is also referenced up here. I'm just saying that, hey, your data is going to be stored here. This is where your database is. And this is where we're mapping our volume to. Pretty straightforward, right? Our depends on is going to be depending on the RabbitMQ server, and we want that condition of that container right there to be healthy. We'll cover that here in a second. Now our front end, this is going to be what's taking the traffic and presenting us with a website, and it's going to be the one communicating with the API server. This one, just pulling a standard image that Kaneo uses for the web, but it also needs the Kaneo API URL. Right now it's set to localhost and it's set to HTTP localhost 1337, like that. But just a glimpse into the future, if you leave it like this, it's not going to work for you. Why? Because we are going to be setting up Nginx Proxy Manager with an HTTPS connection. And so when it goes to this website and it tries to read the HTTP, it's going to see that and go, well, no, this is kind of like a mixed mode. I'm not going to really show you anything. And you're going to see the website, but you're just going to see a logo that's just going to spin and spin forever and never go away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually create a subdomain for the API, and I'm going to route that traffic through an HTTPS connection through Nginx Proxy Manager to that API server. But I need to call it something, and it can't be localhost, and I'm also not going to use port 1337. So let's change this. I'm going to call this, I'm going to back over, I'm going to add HTTPS. I'm going to call it, let's just do kaneo-api.synhow.com. That's going to be my my domain name that I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using Synhow. I will show you how to set up all the DNS server stuff in just a second. Since we're also not going to be making this just local only, I'm also going to comment out these ports. But if you are doing local only, then please don't change this line. Please don't comment out these ports. Leave everything essentially as it is. You really don't need to change anything if you're running it locally. The only thing that you'll need to do is you'll basically navigate to the same host name as your Docker server with just this 5173 as your port, because that 5173 is what's going to be basically exposed on your Docker host, and it's going to forward the traffic to 80. But we're not doing it that way, but I'm not going to stop you from doing it that way. All right, so our depends is also going to be on the back end, which that back end relies on our RabbitMQ server. So we're going to definitely make sure that that is up and going. But as long as that's started up, then our front end will fire up just fine. Same restart policy. Our RabbitMQ server that we're going to be running here is going to also be wanting to expose some ports. But again, we don't really need that. They're going to be talking to each other across the Docker network, and they don't really need to have this exposed to the internet. And we're also not going to do anything as far as with our DNS server. So I'm going to uncomment out these ports. Again, you're running it locally. Do not do this. We're going to be using guest and guest for the environment for the default username and pass. If you want to change this, that's totally cool. Just remember, if you do change it down here, also change it up here. That is the username. That is the password. Next up, we have the volume that it's going to create, which is again done exactly the way I would want to do it. And we're also going to be doing a health check on this server, which is going to be looks like a diagnostic with a little bit of ping on the side. And we're going to be doing that every 10 seconds. The timeout will be 5, and our retries will be 5. If it goes beyond that retry rate, it's going to be considered unhealthy, and all those dominoes fall down, and your stuff just won't run. But I haven't had any problems. I'm just going to comment those out and then move on with my life. Next up are volumes that are going to be created by the deployment of this stack, which are SQLite data and our RabbitMQ data. That was a lot of talking, and I hope it made sense. But if it didn't make sense, you have a question, that is okay. Post it down below. We all learn from questions that other people ask, because you never know, you may just have the same question. So don't be afraid to do that. All right, I'm going to deploy this server. I'm just going to hit the big old deploy button right here, because I think I did everything that I need to do. Yours may take a little bit of time to download because you may not have the images. Mine is probably going to be a little bit quicker and should deploy here in just a second. All right, so now that we have that all deployed, let's go to our containers. Let's go into our Nginx proxy manager. And I'm going to make myself a little bit smaller. And let's scroll all the way to the bottom. And let's make sure that our Nginx proxy manager is joined to the same network as our Kaneo server. So let's drop this down. Let's click on our Kaneo default and let's hit join. So that network was automatically created complements of portainer for us. If you ever need to see them, they're over here under networks. All right, after we do that, we should be good to configure our DNS servers. And in case you don't have Nginx Proxy Manager configured and you're kind of a little lost and feel like we skipped over a step, check out my video where I describe how to build your own cloud-based server. That should help you catch up to having portainer and Nginx Proxy Manager and all the other fun stuff, all those prerequisites all done for you. Let's do this. Let's go ahead, and before we jump and configure our Nginx Proxy Manager, let's create some DNS entries. I'm going to be using the advanced DNS that's under Namecheap. However, if you do have a different DNS server, that is okay. All right, let's do this. I want to create a new record, and I'm going to call my website. I'm just going to have it be Kaneo, and the IP address is the one that I'm going to be routing it to is the IP of my server that I have set up, my external server IP address. And I do need to add another record too. I need to add one for that API. And don't remember what we called that, do you? Let's do this. Let's go back over to portainer. Let's go to stacks. And if you remember, then that's good. But just in case, you can always come under here under editor. And here we go. We have the website that we specified that we wanted to use for our API connection. And we're also going to make sure it's secure. All right, so let's got that copied. Let's go over here and paste it. We're going to be using the same IP address, paste there, and I'm going to hit save all changes. Perfect. We've done the DNS part. Not too bad, right? So this was going to forward this Kaneo A record over to this IP address. And the A record basically just sits right in front of the SYNHOW. So it's going to be kaneo.synhow.com. Let's set that up in our Nginx proxy manager. Once you're signed into your Nginx proxy manager, we'll just basically head to proxy hosts and we'll add a new proxy host. Let's zoom in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to be calling it, I'm going to be giving it my subdomain, which is my kaneo.synhow.com. It's one I just set up. And it's asking me, where do I want to send this traffic to? It's a good question. Let's do this. Let's zoom out. We're going to be sending it to the host name that is on our Docker server. So if we go under portainer, this is going to be going to our front end. Remember, our back end is the API. We're going to copy this host name and we're going to paste it in here. And if you remember from the Docker compose file, we are forwarding it to port 80. If you want to double check that, you can always come back here to the GitHub and take a look, and we'll zoom in here a little bit. You'll see where the ports, this is the one that was going to be exposed, and this is the port 80 is the port that it's listening to on the container side. All right, 80 it is. Let's jump back to our Nginx proxy manager. Let's type in 80. I'm going to block some common exploits. I'm going to open up some WebSocket support, and I'm going to hit save. All right, so we're only on HTTP. That's no bueno. I don't want people listening on my stuff. I'm going to encrypt that traffic. I'm going to hit edit over here and zoom in a little bit. I'm going to hit SSL. I'm going to drop this down. I'm going to request a new certificate. I'm going to force it, and I'm going to agree. And I'm going to hit save. If you did everything in the right order, then this should go away without any sort of error. If you did this before doing the DNS, you're probably going to get an error, because in order for Let's Encrypt to work, they need to be able to contact and talk to your subdomain. Let's set up our next subdomain. This one's for the API. So the subdomain that we created, in case you forgot, we can always come back here. Kaneo-API, easy peasy. Paste that in there, and we're also going to add .synhow.com. And it's asking us, where we're going to send this traffic to. Again, very easy to find out. We're going to go back to portainer. We're going to copy this right here. This is our backend. This is where our API is living. And we're also going to come back, paste it in there. And now it's asking us for our port number. Again, we can always come back to our Docker compose file. This one is listening on port 1337, and also going to be wanting to have traffic on the container side on the same one. Sometimes they're the same. Sometimes they're different. It's just knowing where to look. All right, so come back here. We're going to paste that in here. I'm going to do the same thing, block common exploits. I'm going to do some WebSocket support. I'm going to hit save. And just remember, we can't have the whole mixed environment. It's either encrypted or not. Let's go ahead and go under edit. And let's do the same thing for our cert for this API URL. I'm going to request a new one, force, agree, and save. Booyah. All right, after that has talked to the server and disappeared from our site, which it should here in a second, should be good to go. I don't think we missed anything, but there's only one way to find out. Let's click on our website here for kaneo.synhow.com. And here we go. We're presented with our login page. We can go ahead and create our first account. Just in case you're curious, check this out. If we go back and we look at our API URL, we can also see that it is responding too. So that will be internet facing, but that's why we went ahead and changed that little JWT password to something nice and super complicated. All right, what do you think? Is this something that you might want to run? Maybe you want to evaluate it. There's a bunch of different project management open source projects out there. I like this because it's new, but it's also, it's very up and coming. It's very clean, especially for being something so very, very new. I would encourage you to take a look at it. If you do have any sort of suggestions, feature requests, hit up the GitHub page. And if you're feeling so inclined, I'm sure that they would appreciate any sort of donation that you want to make towards them as well. If you have any questions about this project, any of the steps that we went over, leave them down below. And if you did find this helpful, I would definitely appreciate a thumbs up. And if you didn't find it helpful and you hate this project and you're never going to run it, it's okay to give me a thumbs down. It's okay, because whatever you thumbs up and thumbs down, I learn from. I learn what you like, and I'll hopefully do more videos that will entertain you and educate you. All right, well, that's enough talking for me. Hope you guys have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.